Yo, today we have a book insight of The Six Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. And this is really a great book for me because it really started to get me interested in the idea of self-esteem and self-confidence. And right before we even get into what the book is really about, let's get into the definition of self-esteem. And side note, I just want to give a shout out again to the references I use in this video, and they are put in the description box, so make sure you check those out. Confidence in ability to think and cope with challenges of life, and that's the definition of one of the definitions of self-esteem. And the second one is a more general definition, and also one that's sort of aimed at men, and you'll see why at the end. Confidence in our right to be successful and happy, the feeling of being worthy, deserving, entitled to assert our needs and wants, achieve our values, and enjoy the fruits of our women. Now, when you look at these two definitions, you can really assess where your self-esteem is by how much you agree or disagree with the statement. So if I were to say, are you confident in your ability to cope and think with challenges in life? If you agree, if you like, for example, if you strongly agree with it, then you can say that you have a high self-esteem, high self-confidence in yourself. And if you strongly disagree, you can have you could say you have a low self-esteem / self-confidence in yourself. I was interested in this concept once I started to read the book and really get into the idea of what self-confidence and self-esteem is and how you can foster it, how it works. It really got me more intrigued in the idea, and something that I like to have a backing for when I give advice for people that have low confidence and self-esteem in themselves. Now Nathaniel breaks this way, like he breaks down his book in a quite a great way, where he has 6 pillars. He calls them 6 pillars that you practice on a daily basis that help you grow self-esteem, because he explains that self-esteem is something that is it fluctuates, so you need something a consistent practice to help you keep self-esteem increasing and growing and maintaining. Now I do have notes with me as well, so it can kind of help as well. This is my first time having notes on top of what I'm reading, but it should help me along the way. Now, the first pillar he goes over is the practice of living consciously. Now, I have written here is that what this exactly means is to look for information about all realities that affect your life, accept them, and act accordingly. And in this case, I would replace the word realities with facets. The facets in your life. A while ago, 2 years ago, I made this thing called the 4 E's, where I broke down. It was education, extracurriculum, entertainment, and entrepreneurship. Well, basically, the four main facets for my life at that time, when I was, busy with trying to be an entrepreneur and being a university student, being interested in sports and trying to have fun in my free time. When I had those 4 categories, it helped me kind of navigate life a lot easier. But if you look at your life in that sort of fashion, if you look at those facets in your life, start to be more aware about them and kind of start to register how it affects you, how you manage it, and have that extra bit of awareness, because self-awareness goes a long way. And it's how Nathaniel mentions how much awareness you have will affect how much self-confidence and self-esteem you have. Now, the second pillar of the self-esteem that Nathaniel mentions is self-acceptance. And the instant backlash you would get for that would be, oh, of course, why would you want to accept yourself if you're not happy with yourself? Are you trying to tell you to settle for less? That kind of stuff. But what Nathaniel means by, well, at least what I interpreted from him and the summaries that people had written about the book, is that he means you should not live in conflict with yourself. And if you are constantly battling yourself in your mind, saying you're not worthy enough, you hate yourself for doing this, why did you make this mistake, you should never be able to achieve this. You should stop yourself, start to analyze how much self-acceptance do I really have? Do I accept myself? Am I compassionate for myself? And that's the honest approach to finding out how much you accept yourself really, like, because there is a lot of improvement you can do, and a lot of changes that you can make, but at the end of the day, you will never be happy if you don't accept yourself and choose to not have those constant negative battles in your mind. And that is why I also agree that this is a great thing to practice daily. Now, the third thing to practice is self-responsibility. And it's a very interesting one. And, Branden mentions that you should take responsibility in all areas of your life. And when you take responsibility, you start to take ownership. And I also agree with him because, as I mentioned before, I created a list a few years ago about things that I stand for, and it was one of the goals I made. It was make a list of 5 things that you stand for, and I remember it was control, responsibility, and freedom. And responsibility really wanted me to kind of take ownership of the things I should hold myself accountable for, things I've been holding to the side and letting hopefully someone else go and do. But what should really be done is me taking that first step and actually being accountable for it and being responsible for those things. And Nathaniel, he really does go in depth with it, and it's quite informative and a great way to learn about how you can actually start being responsible for your life, because you need to kind of have self-responsibility, because it elevates your self-esteem. And he mentions, I list three things that I found from a source about how you can start being more responsible and what it means to really be responsible. So the first thing I've written is about productivity. Understanding that you must achieve independence by working. So asking yourself, what can I do? How can I improve my current state? And learning that through action and doing things, that's how you start building a list of things you're responsible for. The second thing is thinking independently and really starting to analyze other people's thoughts and opinions, and only repeating those things if you actually truly believe them, other than, on the other hand, being a puppet or a parrot and just repeating things people have said without thinking yourself, do I actually agree or disagree with this thing? And the third thing is being responsible for achieving your goals. Understanding that you can only develop and implement a plan to achieve your goals. You need to really put yourself in the shoes that you have to take control of your life, really. And that is almost the essence of the self-responsibility pillar. Just understanding that you have to be in control of the things that you're responsible for and really taking that ownership factor. Now, the fourth pillar is self-assertiveness. Very, very interesting one, and one I wasn't really aware of before. But Nathaniel is what he's trying to get across is asserting yourself by expressing what you need, want, and value in appropriate ways. And I guess for me, I always had that, and I don't want to go off topic too much, but I always had that feeling of I shouldn't assert myself too much. I should always just let the other party ask for stuff. I want to be a giver and not a taker, etc. But you have to have some sort of self-assertiveness so you can get what you want and what you need. You have to ask. Like they say, if you never ask, you will not get, and that's so true. No. He also mentions about not speaking or acting in ways incongruent with your thoughts or beliefs, and when this involves opposing others, you express this refusal politely. And when you are more assertive about what you want, you become a less agreeable person. However, you become someone who actually stands up for what he believes in, what she believes in, and what they want. You want to be that person that you have that list of things that you stand for and that boundary that you have, and you stick to it, because other people will start to look up to you and realize this is a person worth listening to and following and respecting. Because again, I don't want to go off topic, and I don't remember Malcolm X's quote off the top of my head, but he said, if you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. So really take that into consideration, and I really do think you should check out this book, go to that chapter, really start to understand what was Nathaniel meaning by bringing up this pillar, and sort of turn it into your own, because you need to turn it into something that you can understand and something you can practice yourself. The fifth pillar is to live purposefully. Now, he explains that it's sort of a way where you start to live with intention. You don't just react to what happens. You proactively decide that what your long-term goals are, create plans to achieve them, then implement those plans. So really, is the idea of that concept of intention and being someone who has a goal behind what you're doing is really driven in this pillar of living purposefully. You don't, like how it's said here, Nathaniel mentions, you don't just want to react to things. You want to actually make things happen. You don't want to be someone who's reactive. Instead, be proactive. Actually start to decide what you want to achieve, how you're going to achieve it, and when you want to achieve it. So really what this one means is being someone who takes, again, so taking control of your life. And this seems to be a reoccurring theme in this book, and that should be a message to me and to you about how much ownership and control means to self-confidence and self-esteem. Now, the last one is to practice personal integrity. Now, Nathaniel is talking about acting with integrity, meaning that you strive to behave in ways that reflect your values. So acting in a way that is in line with what you believe. And additionally, well, before we get to what the extra bit is about, you need to make sure that what you do and what you say is in line with what you believe and what you feel is right. And there are exceptions, to that rule, but in general, you should follow that rule, because that makes you more respectable to others and more importantly to yourself. It really does boost your self-respect when you show your mind that you're willing to follow through with what you believe, whether that involves conflict or missing out on opportunities or sacrifices. If you're willing to follow through on what you believe in, you build that self-respect and that self-integrity. So it's a very, very essential thing to have, that I feel like it almost closes that circle of all of these pillars to practice on a daily basis, and something very essential. And I also recommend, not just with this one, with the entire book, just read the entire book. It is a good book, and I'll probably do need to go back to it and just check out and see what I can learn more again, because you can always learn more again. Now, what the additional part is, it refers to you not, if you don't know what your values are, this is a good time for you to start learning and to start building that list. So if you don't know what they are, start examining what you believe, what do you agree with, what don't you agree with. Start to think for yourself, instead of just watching things and just laughing and just enjoying it and just letting it pass by. When you look at the things going on in your life, really start to pick apart, what do you value from these activities, from these things. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Start to form more opinions. Be more opinionated, and that allows you to have a value system to follow and build on that integrity and respect for yourself. Now, to face life with low self-esteem is to be at a severe disadvantage. To trust one's mind and to know that one is worthy of happiness is the essence of self-esteem. So believing that you deserve things in your life is almost self-esteem in itself. So you should really start to consider practicing self-esteem. Really, that's. I don't really want to go again. I don't want to go too much into the waffle side while I start talking too much about what's involved in this discussion of this book. But really start to take a dive into your own mind. Be a bit more aware about the things you believe, things that you say, and that can start opening more doors. Maybe there's something that you're battling with that you didn't know. Whether it's trauma, whether it's social problems, whether it's financial issues that's affecting you. Start to take that jump into being more self-aware and practicing these 6 pillars so that you can start building a more beneficial mindset to you. And what I mean is that you become more happy about your life and your surroundings and the things that are going on. More likely to persist in the face of difficulties. So when you have a higher self-esteem, you're more likely to be more positive, so you're more likely to tackle problems as they come your way. When you have a low self-esteem, you're more likely to be negative, so you don't want to tackle problems because you already have a negative view of life anyway. What could defeating a problem do to your life in that way, for a negative person? So let me talk as a negative person. Oh, there's a problem coming my way. What's the point anyway? That's the mindset. Self-esteem flow with reality. Self-esteem flows with reality. Self-doubt fights it. So self-doubt almost seems in this statement seems to be the opposite of self-esteem. And I really do hate self-doubt because self-doubt stops you from going at the things you should go at. And it is very, 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 very dangerous and sneaky tool, and one I probably will write about again because I think I've wrote about 2 times, but there will be a third. There'll be a hat trick. I need to write about this another time so I can shut it down and really crack down on it. But I will go in depth hopefully, and this is something I just thought about now. But this is something now I've said out loud. I will consider doing that, and I really do want to kind of crack down on self-doubt because it haunts a lot of people about when you start doubting yourself. High self-esteem is willingness to admit mistakes. And really the character of someone who has high self-esteem is someone who is respectable, someone who is honest, someone who is really willing to do the right things. That is what I view someone with high self-esteem as. I don't view someone with a high self-esteem as someone who is arrogant and has a lot of ego and pride and is willing to hurt other people and do bad things. I view self-esteem, well, in my lens, through the Islamic lens, really is someone who is more positive, someone who is able to distinguish between self-doubt and high ego, someone who draws that middle line, believes in himself, believes in others, etc. But I don't want to go off topic and start waffling. High self-esteem seeks challenging goals. So again, that theme of people with high self-esteem, they take on challenges because they believe in themselves. You need to start believing in yourself, really. And that's what I would love to say to myself all the time. And I hope that is something you want to say to yourself too. A person's image of the future may be a better predictor of the future attainment than his past performance. So what I get from this, maybe I'm wrong, but if you have a positive outlook on what you can achieve in the future, it really could be insignificant of what happened to you in your past. If you're willing to improve and actually go for better, you should really have that be the indicator of something that you want to, the indicator of what you're capable of, not just your past, but what you think about yourself in the future. Fear and pain should be treated as signals not to close our eyes, but to open them wider. So the fight or flight system, rather than flight, going away, FTC, running away, you should really start be willing to fight and actually challenge things that come your way. And shout out to Flight FTC. Living consciously implies respect for the facts of reality. So as I've mentioned about, living consciously, the first pillar of self-esteem, kind of you just have to be kind of the person who is aware of their surroundings, what they have to do. Now, when we fight a block, it grows stronger. When we acknowledge, experience, and accept it, it begins to melt. To feel competent and worthy of happiness, I need a sense of control over my existence. So again, going at the point of control and ownership. Productiveness. What actions are possible? What needs to be done? How can I improve my conditions? So you need to ask those questions rather than being the one who does not ask those questions and hope someone will come and answer them for him or her or anybody. You need to ask those questions and answer them yourself and take action after you know the answer. No one is coming. One of the most important concepts to realize is no one is coming. It's almost like the point I mentioned in my book, The 23 Attitudes. Realizing that if you stop, that doesn't mean the world is going to stop. That doesn't mean it. So you need to realize that you should not stop. You should not stop because you feel like the world will stop. No, it will not stop. Someone else will fill that position. Someone else will get that promotion. Someone else will achieve it. Someone else will beat that record. So that should not be something that is in your mind when it comes to giving up. And realizing that that's in the other way, but in this essence in this meaning of no one is coming, is that you shouldn't leave things to someone else hoping that they'll come and do it for you. And I'm not meaning in relying on someone else. I'm meaning in a hopeful way where you're being quite delusional about it. You're not being someone who is relying on someone else. You're being very hopeful that they're going to come and save you and do everything for you. But you need to realize every person has the things they're doing in their life. You have to kind of take ownership and control of your life. And like how it said, realize that no one is coming. So you have to start acting. And I think I went on a little bit of a rant there again, unfortunately. Count them. If I don't do something, nothing is going to get better. So okay. Basically, same thing as no one is coming. You have to act, because if you do not act, it will not get better. And in the same way that you say to someone else, listen, bro, I can't change you. You can only change as much as you want to change yourself. You should put that same statement on yourself. So you need to start actually making those small improvements in your life. Start small. Make those small improvements and you will see some change. Courage is vital in order to be self-assertive. And courage is vital because when you're self-assertive, it can open the door to conflict. It will open the door to conflict because you are becoming more opinionated and you're standing on what you believe in. You're standing on business, really. So courage is vital. Start to look into courage. Do you have those traits? If not, how do you start to practice them? Those are questions you should start asking. Not confronting things or people is not good. Your self-esteem knows if you are afraid. You know if you are afraid. When you walk away from a situation and you know that you backed away when you could have stood on what you believed in, you know that you backed away because you were afraid. And that's not a good feeling. And your subconscious will pick up on that. So less cowardliness and more courage filled in for that cowardliness, and you will be great. So don't be like Courage, the cowardly dog. Just be courage. Just be that, just be courage and practice courage. And it requires practice, of course, just repeated practice, repeated things that help you practice courage, and you will get better with it over time. It's a practice. It's not a mind state that you keep forever. It's something that you continuously grow on and work on. Okay. Last page. Bringing ourselves into the world. To hold our values is not assertive. To practice and pursue them is self-assertiveness. Yes. So rather than just holding the values, actually practice and pursue them. So the same way that you hold these values in your mind, but when someone addresses you or you need to do things, you're not following through with it. You're not saying or doing what's in line with what you believe. That is not self-assertiveness. Self-assertiveness is taking that action. And self-assertiveness is really agreeable with integrity. So those two kind of match up. Without self-assertiveness, we are spectators and are not participants. Healthy self-esteem asks us to leap into the arena. So rather than being someone in the stadium, in the crowds, you want to be the person in the actual front lines, in the actual stadium, with the football boots, or in in that Coliseum. You want to be the fighter, or maybe you don't. But the idea is just that you want to be someone who is a part of it and not someone who is watching it. And that involves you being more self-assertive and taking control and ownership of your life. Take responsibility for one's goals and purposes. To live without purpose is to not live at the mercy of chance. The chance event, phone call, text, encounter, because we have no standard of which to judge by. Yeah, so even I wish I had gone over this before I started recording, because that's what I was trying to get at earlier. And I was trying to mention the whole, like, being hopeful and delusional. You're really just, this kind of summed up what I was trying to say of you're at the mercy of chance. And rather than taking the opportunity to be responsible for your life, you are at the mercy of chance and just wish and hope that something or someone will come and save the day, like Superman or something. Come and fly and save your life. But you need to be responsible, take accountability, and practice those 6 things that are essential to self-esteem. Monitoring behavior to make sure you are living aligned with your values. So you have to build a system where you are continuously overlooking what you are doing, what you are thinking, so that you are in line with what you plan to do with your self-esteem. Need to balance living in present with having goals for the future. So of course there is the people that say just build as many goals as you can for your future. Just continue just building goals. Just throw them out every single day. Throw goals and focus on goals. And then you have the people on the other side who are quite present with things and just says take things day by day, hour by hour. Just focus on the now. You only have the now. But we don't need to be a part of either group. We can be a part of both and mix it into one where you walk in that middle line of you have these goals you're bringing into your side, but you also have that presentness that you're bringing into your side, and you can find that balance. When we go against our values, we lose faith in our own eyes. And I wish I had written this first, because it was something that I kept echoing about self-assertiveness and integrity. So the whole sentiment is put into one statement, really. All of that talking I did was for no reason. It's put into one sentence. When we go against our values, we lose faith in our own eyes. Reflect on that, Give me your own insight in the comments. It's been over 3 months. When actually it's been over 4 months, almost 5 months. And not a single person has put a comment. So I'd appreciate a comment about how you think about this book, because this book is something that is very impactful if you look at it through the right lens. And I will definitely consider going back to this book in the future after going through this insight, because it's been one that's kind of re-sparked that interest in Nathaniel Branden's work and self-esteem. So thank you for watching.